a big update to the Tour de France. That's gonna sound sad at first, but will be glorious. Everything is always in its right place, even the kidney stones and the broken vertebrae from volume 2 and the stolen bike of volume 3. And so I went to the ER today for the third time to get all these drugs. I'm at a warm showers house, so I'm gonna go in their garage so I don't wake them up. It's 1:11 in the morning. Very long day. They're amazing and have a bike stable and are so great, and I'm gonna take my bike apart with that because I had a theft back in Madras, Oregon. It sucked, but the person just needed somewhere to sleep, and it's definitely like in the teens there right now, so you shouldn't speak of the charity you do, even the unintentional ones, but it's definitely saving someone's life, because that person just broke into this bag right here while the bike was locked up while I was eating dinner at a restaurant at 8:30 in the middle of a town, small town, 5,000 people, Madras, Oregon, right? And they didn't take a lot of things they could have. They did take some GoPro batteries out of this thing and whatever. This isn't about that theft, but they took my sleep system only. They just took the stuff to stay warm, and they even left my tent. So and this person knew what they were doing. They knew the gear they were taking and the gear they were leaving, because they had to dig through stuff, and they left stuff and took really good stuff, like some pillows, a sleeping pad, which so many companies, REI especially, and Xbed helped replace, which I haven't even released that video yet. But anyway, so because of that, I was sleeping bad. And I'm sure that other bike crashes along the way and injuries started this, but not having my sleep system, I camped at this church where this amazing pastor gave me this old sleeping bag of hers, which is a huge Coleman thing that literally wouldn't go in the whole pannier. Hilarious. But so great of her, let me camp with that until I was done dealing with the cops, and then I went back to REI in Bend, and they were amazing and gave me $900 worth of gear for $150, and it was great. But because of that, I slept really badly for a little while, for a couple days, and it was frigid. And I even went to a hospital right across the street and got blankets from the hospital, because I didn't have my 15-degree sleeping bag anymore, nor any sleeping bag, because I had yet to get my sleeping bag liner mailed to me, which right now I'm carrying 2 sleeping bags, a 50-degree and a 20 now, not a 15. But I could put the 50-degree sleeping bag liner in the 15 and could be super warm, but that's heavy and you don't need that to the deep winter, and I wasn't carrying that in Oregon yet, and I did indeed have that mailed to me at Stage 35 in just south of Seattle. So anyway, I didn't have any sleeping bag. I was cold, I slept horribly, and I was not on a sleeping bag. I was just on concrete with my bare tent and a couple blankets and an old Coleman 70 sleeping bag, right? My back was really fucked up. I ended up going to I went to Mount Hood. It was awesome, but I'm still sleeping on the on a new sleeping pad, and I thought it was the sleeping pad, which REI had let me borrow until I got a replacement one from Xbed. It's another awesome company. Gave me one for free. So cool. It's ridiculous. You don't deserve the things that you're given when you're on tour, but it's crazy how much it comes. But so anyway, I slept bad, and I attributed it to all these things and didn't attribute it to possible injury, which I had inflamed. But what I was at the ER for today, I had a very small crash on the way here. I was riding, I wasn't doing a Strava map. I wasn't using my bike computer. I just did a Google Maps, because I just I rode from this town. I think it was Mount Vernon. I don't know. Anyway, it's right outside of Everett, and it's a 66-mile ride to Bellingham. and it wasn't that far, and there's only a few ways, and I didn't want to take the interstate, obviously. And so I just Google Maps, and there was this pretty simple thing that looked like it took some trails, and it had just snowed here. It was icy, and the roads were clear because it's really temperate in the Pacific Northwest, but they have like the occasional snow, and their snow is not like real winter, right? Like it can be, I'm sure, in the deep of February, but certainly not in December. And so anyway, I take this trail just briefly. There's ice and snow. I'm like, yeah, this isn't a good idea. I'm just going to ride the state road highway for the rest of the way. It'll be, which I had already ridden like 5 miles of in this 66-mile route. Wasn't that bad of traffic, pretty decent shoulder. And most importantly, it was all melted, right? So like, so I literally had already like made this decision and zoomed in like how far away this trail was till connected to a road again without having to backtrack, because part of the trail when I turned onto it was clear, obviously. And I was like, I don't know if I trust it though. There's going to be some shit in the shade, blah, blah, blah. But I went against the bikepacking knowledge that I fucking have, and I went down this road lazily because it's cold and I have a 65 miler and it's wet as fuck and I just want to get there. And like, you should turn around. It's so stupid. All the time, I have so many stories of when I should have turned around. Like at least 4 of them. Shout out to the Louisiana fucking gumbo mud and my Trail Angel Cole Saldana. But anyway, so I take this little crash, innocuous crash. It was so small. It was just like 9 miles an hour. And I just go into the side of the trail, just in grass. It was a rails to trails trail where it was a paved, wide, old railroad track, right? And I just go down in like 1.5 inches of snow on the side of this trail that hasn't melted at all. The hoods of the bike don't even bend. I don't have to fix anything. And I don't have like even a scrape on any of my cycling clothes. Like nothing. Everything is perfectly fine. I'm like, I don't have to, it doesn't hurt at all. I take the small fall going very slow, very easily, and I'm like, yep, that confirms it. I'm definitely riding the highway the rest of the way. I get there late at night, kinda-ish, Bellingham. I had made a warm showers arrangements for the next night. I didn't know if I was going to do it in 2 days or in 1 day, depending on the weather and the road conditions. And the road conditions were pretty good. The trail conditions were not. So anyway, I camp at a church the first night. I go to my warm showers host the next night. Still feel fine. I sleep on a futon mattress that has a bar across it, and then that makes it so I wake up the next morning with a little bit of a back like cramp in the top of my back. And I'm like, that sucks. This futon, like, this place is so awesome, this warm showers host, and they were so cool. It was the first of 2 warm showers hosts in Bellingham, not at this house. And above the garage, they had an incredible like in-law suite, and everything was incredible, and they're way above and beyond awesome warm showers, so it's just the futon sucked. But so I attributed it to that. I took a shower, I used the foam roller, I was fine. I went and did some riding around. I introduced myself to the bike shop that I got some stuff mailed to, my like ski goggles and a few things, last winter tidbits that I didn't want to carry till I absolutely needed to, because those fucking goggles take up space in bags. Right? Like it has like a changeable lens, and they're really nice goggles, so you want to keep the case. And I use the rest of the space with the changeable lens in there, with the goggles just staying on my helmet at all times. But anyway, not to get into that. So I got it mailed to here before I continue up to Canada. This is like 20 miles away from the Canadian border right now, or 15 miles. Anyway, so I introduce myself to the bike shop. I ride around, I do some errands, I get some like resupply of food and crap like that. And then I come back to the house, have like an awesome night. I'm going to watch football the next day. Or no, sorry, is Saturday's the next day? Yeah. No, yeah. I stayed at the church Friday night, the warm showers host the first night, and then I watch football all day Sunday. I wake up Monday morning, my back is just absolutely murdering me. And I'm like, holy shit, I have to go to the emergency room. And that was the first of 3 trips. And my doctor, oh my God, he's amazing. The first trip is Dr. Dubrow. Shout the fuck out to that guy. Shout out. Holy smokes, man. Like, that guy's so above and beyond. He's a bike tourist too. Just another one of the millions of breadcrumbs that has been on the heaping pile of breadcrumb plate that I have. showing me that I'm in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. And it's just like, oh man, I can't believe how many of them I've had. But yeah, he's a bike tourist too. He brought me like fucking like snacks and shit because it's going to be a long time till the MRI today. At my third visit, I also had him. Thank God for that. Another breadcrumb, right? He offers me to like keep my bike at his house while I go home and get this surgery that I need to get. All kinds of shit, all kinds of above and beyond. He'll come pick up my bike with his truck and take it up and put it in his shed. And when I come back and resume the tour in 5 or 6 months, I can just pick it up there. Like, what a fucking offer, right? But like, so anyway, I'm doing a lot of logistics right now. I'm planning flights back to DC, and I should get back, I guess, to the injury. So it turns out the whole time I've been having a disc that's bulging, and just because I don't know, sometimes you sacrifice and you sleep on not a perfectly flat land, but just because like your tent is going to be in such a crazy sunrise window out in these mountains. If you do camp there at like Goat Rock in Arkansas, like, God, I fucking love that place. Shout out to that bartender that told me where her favorite sunrise was and told me it was completely worth it, and there's just enough space for my one single tent. She was so right, and it was so awesome. I'll put a picture of Goat Rock sunrise right now. But anyway, like, sometimes you sleep on stuff like that, and like, thank God I'm taking this foam roller and it holds all of my toiletries, and even though I get all this fucking guff for it, but I would use it and you're fine. Like, your back's fine, you do a bunch of riding, whatever. It's so fucking cringe talking about your muscles, but my back's in the best shape that it's ever been, and so like my muscles are really strong, right? So now, unfortunately. So Dr. Dubrow tells me, Dr. Dubes, we'll call him, because that's what I was thinking. Hell yeah, Dubes, you're the man. But he tells me with the CAT scan that I get the first time, oh yeah, like, so like your nerves, your joints are really close together. Like your back muscles are really strong because of the climbing and shit. They have pulled the joints unnaturally close together, right? So like, they are pretty bad. We'll start with this first treatment, which I had asked for. I was like, yeah, I really just want to get muscle relaxers and some kind of pain meds, because I had gotten muscle relaxers in Hood River when my back was fucked up after the Madras theft. So like, and they could see my charts and stuff. That's back in Oregon. I'm in Washington. Like, I tell them all that stuff, right? And he's like, all right, that worked for you then. We'll go with that again and pain pills again. If symptoms get worse, come back, right? And so like I take that run of meds for like 2 or 3 days. I finally did get 1 day of sleep in between there, and I'm like, all right, I think I'm on my way, right? My amazing warm showers hosts here have a hot tub, which I've been in literally like 30 times. I've lost count. I was joking like, all right, round 8, you know, like go ahead, hit it. Just like trying to do like, my back has been murdering me with, as I'll get into the rest of the injury. So, anyway, so I come back after that run of meds. It's still hurting. Like, and I'm like, well, I guess I got to go back to the emergency room. Like, I can't continue up into Canada and cross the border into a country I've never been to. People are like, oh, it's free healthcare there. I'm like, yeah, if you're a fucking citizen of the country, you moron. Like, you can't just come from anywhere in the world and be like, hey, my back's fucked up. like, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I think it's just wise to, before I cross the border, make sure that I'm healthy, right? Like, and so, and it was, you know, a wise decision when you ride your bike, when you love yourself and you exercise all the time. And loving yourself includes your mental, your physical health, and the food that you put in you. Like, just, it includes all of it completely. But if you do those things, man, you think so fucking clearly. And, like, you just, like, you get it or whatever, right? But, like, so, anyway, fucking asides. Clip that out. But, I come back the second time. I'm like, it's not the same doc. He's off. I definitely asked if Dr. Dubes was there. He wasn't, unfortunately. So I have another doc, no offense to him. He's like, all right, well, we'll switch up muscle relaxers because it had started to get worse. And by now, my left arm is hurting a lot. My tricep is hurting a lot, like right here, by now in the story. And like, I'm like, yeah, dude, it's getting worse. And I'm starting to get numb, like not like completely numb, but a burning sensation. And it hurts all night long, throbbing like crazy. Can't even sleep through the pain meds. And this is before that run of meds had ended. And I was like, yeah, it's just not right. So like, He gives me the second run of meds, the different muscle relaxers, some more fucking pain pills, another like 3-day supply. See how it goes. If it gets worse, come back. And I swear, dude, like, it gets way worse, like, as the days go on. Like, despite, like, I'm not sleeping on the futon anymore. I'm just using my air mattress. I'm using a foam roller constantly. I'm taking hot showers, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm doing, like, physical therapy. I'm stretching, like, whatever, right? Like, it's just getting, and that's just to, like, get by for, like, 10 minutes and then do it again. Just, like, by the end of the day, just, like, the craziest tensed up, like, muscles just constantly spasming. It's so painful. And I mean, I look at pain differently since a kidney stone and childbirth. If you haven't experienced either of those things, you honestly, not to gatekeep pain, but like, you don't know how much a human, you think someone would die when you do think you're dying when you're going through that much pain. And childbirth, some are worse, some are better. I had some of my doctors in my kidney stone be like, yeah, dude, I do all 3 of my children in a row instead of have another kidney stone. And I've had other ones be like, it's close, but I'd rather have a kidney stone slightly. I had a rough birth, but just by a little bit. You know, you're like, okay, because obviously I can only get these things from the horse's mouth and can't experience it. You guys are lucky in that regard. But anyway, like, where the fuck am I going with that? Oh, yeah, during childbirth, you have oxytocin going through your bloodstream to deal with the pain, and then a kidney stone, you just got a raw fucking bloodstream, and you ain't never felt no pain like that till you have. So after you do feel that pain, you look at pain differently. And like, doctors are like, when in their emergency room, for example, on this trip, they're like, so what is the pain level? I'm like, that scale's changed since my kidney stone. I'd say it's like a 6 out of 10, but before my kidney stone, I'd say it was 9 or 10 out of 10. But anyway, like, so I'm like, yeah, it's starting to get like way worse. The pain is way worse. And like, I felt pain, and this is starting to get there. And like, so I start watching, when the second run of meds doesn't work, I start watching a bunch. I just have a bachelor's. I'm just like, I know a lot about genetics. I don't know nothing about the nervous system, a little bit, right? More than the average bear, but just a bachelor's of cellular and molecular biology, right? Like, I don't know shit, but I do know enough to learn what I don't know. So I watch a Stanford lecture of this neurosurgeon. God, shout out to that dude. I wish I knew his name. I will put a link of that dude. Specifically giving us a science talk at a conference about pinched nerves, which are nerves that come out of the C5, C6, and C7, just C6 and C7 vertebrae, I think. And you have 3 of them that come out on each side of your vertebrae. And one of them is the brachial, the radial, and the ulnar. Your radius and ulnar bone. And the brachial branches off in your fucking tricep, where I've been having this crazy fucking pain, right? So that doctor says one of the better ways to treat it too, and I watched I didn't just watch one fucking YouTube video of some fucking doc, not to say it was some fucking doc, because he was a neurosurgeon at goddamn Stanford, right? But anyway, so I watched some other spinal surgeons videos and talks about these things, about the specific, as I'm looking into this, can't sleep at all, dying in pain, not dying, but like writhing in pain in bed and can't sleep. And just miserable, and thinking about is this bike tour over? And fucking yeah, so God, this is such a long rambling video, but it's so momentous, and I guess it deserves its explanation, and you guys are gonna love the end. So anyway, so I come back in the 3rd time. I'm at the warm showers host that I'm at their house right now with the hot tub that I spoke of. At this point, and I'm like, as I'm going through the second round of meds, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna go to the hospital one more time. And they're like, really? Do you think you should go to urgent care maybe? And I was like, no, I want them to have every piece of machinery there to do all the tests they need to do. I want them to do an MRI, but they might order other shit. I want it to all be in one place. I'm gonna go back there, blah, blah, blah. And I want it to be like, I'm going to watch the Ravens have played on Saturday. You guys know I'm a knucklehead about them. I'm going to watch the rest of football all day on Sunday anyway, sitting there looking at my phone. I'm just going to go do it in a hospital and get this over with. And this is my last ditch effort. I'm gonna go get this prednisone steroid treatment, along with more pain fucking meds and more muscle relaxers. And if the steroids don't do it, I guess that I have to go. I guess the tour's over, is what I think in my head. So after watching the neurosurgeon shit that I watched, so then I go to my amazing warm showers host again. Lynn gives me a ride in icy conditions because of it snowed right now with this Canadian wind influx, right? And she drops me off at the hospital at 11 a.m. this morning. And I didn't get out of there until 8 o'clock at night. Pacific time, right? So like, no, I guess it was 7 o'clock because it was like there's still the end of the fourth quarter of the night game, and me and a bunch of friends are talking that are in the fantasy playoffs of a couple leagues. And that was something that went awesome today. I won both of those playoff games. I'm the top scorer in both those leagues. I'm telling you, bicycling makes everything better. You hit golf balls farther, you draft better fantasy football teams, and just everything's better in your life if you love yourself. I'm telling you, it's amazing. You should do it. But anyway, so I go in there. Dr. Dubro's there again. Thank fucking God. He's like, oh man, you're still here. It's not good to see you again. Then I just like, what's going on, like with it, you know? And I'm like, God, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad to see you again. So like, he knows where I'm coming from. And when I ask, like, what would you do? Would you go home and get the surgery? Would you like, what would you do right now? Would you keep going on the tour? Like with this is back before we get the MRI, and what I asked him in the first trip. Like those are like great person to ask those questions to. Like no one more qualified, literally. But like, anyway, so, he's like, yeah, all right. Well, I was like, yeah. So, I mean, doc, like I didn't mention this before, but like I got a cellular molecular biology degree. Don't fucking dumb it down for me, all right? I definitely don't know the stuff that you know, and I don't mean to like step on your intelligence, and I want your full advice and full everything, but just please don't dumb it down for me. There might be a few words I don't know. I'll look that shit up. But I'm like, I've done a lot of, I explained everything about the videos and blah, blah. I'm like, if it's okay with you, if you think that if you agree with this treatment, I'd like to get steroids and try this steroid treatment. And if it doesn't work, then I guess I'm just going to go home. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to fly back to DC. And he had already offered me the first time. He was like, oh man, I hope he was like, we'll definitely do that. And I hope that's not the case. And if that is the case, again, you can leave your bike in my shed if you need to. If you don't need to, whatever, I'll give you my number after this. Like, just amazing. But anyway, so I'm like, sweet. He's like, we're going to get an MRI, and then we'll really look and see exactly what nerves and what, like, it'll see a lot more than the CT scan does. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. And he orders immediately. I start the steroids right then and gives me pain pills. So I'm fine watching the football game all day. I'm like, finally feel good for the first time. I literally got 3 hours of sleep last night. Didn't sleep at all the night before. And slept like 1 or 2 hours the night before that, like completely sleep deprived. I'll show my Whoop scores on the screen. But anyway, so he's like, yeah, for sure. And then comes back like an hour later and he's like, hey, it's going to be a wall for MRIs. Has a plate of fucking, like, I should have taken a picture of this. Has a plate of like fucking popcorn, some Christmas cookies, some Chex Mix, and some fucking like almond Hershey bars. Like full plate of it from some stuff, I guess, in like the doctor's lounge or some shit. Like, hey, here's some snacks. It's going to be a while for the MRI. I'm like, no worries, doc. I'm watching football. I feel a lot better thanks to the drugs. I'm in no rush. Like, anyway, so like he's super dope. It really was a lot longer. That he had said that at like, you know, like 1:30 or so or whatever. And like, I didn't get the MRI till like 6:30. And then the radiologist had to look at it. And then doc comes in and tells me, he's like, yeah, it's definitely got worse. He's like, I think you need surgery, but I'm going to call the neurosurgeon on call right now and speak with him and show him the MRIs and get his opinion first because he's a neurosurgeon. But yeah, I think that you need surgery and it's definitely worse. And you don't have mirroring, which is this thing that I had learned about. And he was like, you don't have mirroring. because I started to have my right arm going numb, just the top shoulder blade and the very top of the tricep. So again, the brachial nerve, but all 6 nerves are, because the brachial nerve ends there and it continues into my forearm. It's not into my fingers yet, but so like your funny bone is called your humerus. That's one of the bones in your arm. Then the other 2 in your forearm are the radius and the ulna. And so the radial and ulnar nerves continue down to them, obviously, and the brachial one branches off like your lungs do, the same type of pattern, but up in your upper bone on your humerus, the Latin word for it, which isn't spelled like humerus, but that's why people call it funny bone. Lame. Anyway, you didn't need to know that, and that made this video another 20 fucking seconds longer than it has to be. But since we're speaking about these medical things, he's like, yeah, so that's why you're starting to have it come down the other 3 nerves, because so what I have is the 6th and the 7th vertebrae are, so I have a completely like herniated and like bulge disc to where it's like it's done. In between the 6th and 7th, the C6, C7 vertebrae, your cervical 6th and 7th in your neck, which the top one, the C1 is up at the very base of your skull. So right about here is the 6, 7, right there actually. So that's a horrible view with my puffy, and that felt great to grab like a fucking moron. So where that is where the nerves branch out of your spinal cord, and that all connects up to your brain. That branches down into your spinal cord through your shoulder, the back of your shoulder, into the corner of your shoulder here, and then down your arms there, right? And so I have a pinched nerve not somewhere along there at the worst place. It's pinched because my disc is broken. And because that's the case, they either have to fuse those 2 discs and take the old disc out, or they still take the old disc out and they put a titanium polymer artificial disc in between, which is what I'm going to have done. I think I'll still get a second opinion from the neurosurgeon that does the surgery when I get back to DC. But Dr. Dubes tells me those are the 2 possible things, and he thinks I'm going to have one of them. Or he doesn't tell me those 2 things. He tells me I'm going to have surgery. And because he tells me all the disc stuff and blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm going to call the neurosurgeon. And he does. And he comes back and he's like, you know what? I think it's best if you speak with him so that we don't lose anything in communication. And whatever you don't know, you can ask me or ask him to clarify, right? And so he speaks to me and gives me a bunch of options, asks me whether I'd like to have the surgery done here in Washington or go back to DC, because Dr. Dubes has already filled him in about the whole story about where I am. And I'm like, 3,000 miles from home and friends and family and like a place to coalesce and my doctors and like blah, 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 blah. Dr. Tamkeen Farouk, I didn't mean to see you. Shout out to that woman. She's so awesome. And gave me such perspective at the beginning of the trip. I definitely have to give a side to her real quick. So like when I broke the 2 vertebrae in my lower back because of letting my brother's dog out way back, if you want to see that video, L'Ingenue Volume 2. It's not a very good video, but it'll explain shit. But anyway, because of that, fucking I break 2 vertebrae. I go back up to DC. While I was already like 20 some stages into the Tour de France, I'd seen most of the local people, all the local people in DC and Baltimore, and then went down to the beach in Maryland to see the people who lived there at home before I dipped the back tire in the Atlantic Ocean and went for the cross-country portions of the TDF. I'd done like 20 stages-ish, some of them being people on the Eastern Shore, where I was like just like a month away from leaving for the cross-country portion, the remainder of the stages, which there was 20. When I left, it was stage 27. No. Grandpa was 29. Emily was 28. Uncle Paul was 27. So it was 26 was the final stage. Paul. Shout out to my best friend Paul. So anyway, so I'd already done like 20 of the stages, only had a few of them left and was putting the back tire in the Atlantic Ocean, broke 2 vertebrae. I go back up to DC. This happened on Valentine's Day that I break those vertebrae, 2021. I go back up to DC from the beach in Maryland. I go see my doc. I have compressed 2 vertebrae, which I technically am no longer 6 foot. I lost a 1/4 inch of height because 2 of my vertebrae got compressed to 75% of their health or their height, their original height, and like fractured, which is really crazy. Only happens to people that jump out of airplanes for men in their 30s. Literally, her first question after she talked to the radiologist and got like the word back, she was like, "Did you just jump out of planes in the military?" And I'm like, and this is like COVID like time, so like, you know, phone call for this kind of thing after the visit, after the X-rays and shit like that. And I'm like, no, but this is in DC, right? Like, so like, that's not a completely off the wall question. Like, there's plenty of motherfuckers that jumped out of airplanes that are now like in the CIA or retired from there in that area, right? 30 or 40-year-olds that did that the answer to that question is yes around DC, right? So she's like, did you do that? And I was like, no, but that worries the shit out of me because that's a very specific question that you're asking was my answer to her. And Dr. Farouk's like, yeah, because like, so this injury only happens to like women in their 80s with very late onset osteoporosis, or men in their 30s or 40s who jumped out of airplanes a lot, because you can only get the injury that you got when the vector of the force goes directly 90 degrees up the spine. And like, if you would have fallen on these stairs 89.5 or 90.5 degrees, you would have just had a very bruised tailbone. But you fell directly perpendicular and the force was absorbed and compressed 2 of your vertebrae. And I was like, oh my God. So that's 3 months off the bike. There's no like, you just like let it heal. You do absolutely nothing. She's like, and she was so like, such advice. She outspoke the battery. I know exactly where it was because it's so pivotal in my life. But so Dr. Tamkeen Farouk, she's like, yeah, so you need to do absolutely nothing. And the less you do, the sooner and better you will heal. And the more you can heal completely from this. You're young, you still have good bones, blah, 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 blah. Do absolutely nothing. But that's going to be bad because you're riding 400 miles a week right now, training for a cross-country trip. You're like in great brain chemistry right now. Your metabolism is crazy high right now. She was like, you're gonna fall off an endorphin cliff. Like, you're gonna like be prepared for it. Like, you will experience some mild depression, will come back. And she knows about the depressive fugue that I was in previously before the kidney stone. She became my doctor after the kidney stone. Anyway, she knew that I had been in a depressive fugue for 12 years. She knew my medical history. I'm completely honest and open, as you should be with your doctors and your parents and your loved ones, because they can help you the most when they know the most. But so she knew about all those things. So she was like, just be aware of the depression is going to come back a little bit, because you're not going to be exercising and getting those endorphins, and you're going to fall off of an endorphin fucking cliff, or your body's used to it. So try to like combat that, like be progressive about it and plan it, and like go for like a sunrise walk every morning or like a sunset thing. And I did that. And that's why I started taking sunrise and sunset pictures and time lapses, the numerous ones that I have, on this trip. And that's what most of my YouTube videos are, because I can only edit on my phone, right? I'll make some dope ones, guys, when I'm sitting at a computer with this recovery from this fucking surgery. But anyway, she's like, also, you're gonna fucking gain some weight. Don't worry, it'll come right back off. But like, you have a metabolism that won't adjust for the first 3 or 4 weeks. That's craving 6,000 calories a day right now, but you're not gonna be burning 6,000 calories a day anymore. So try to eat empty calories, try to eat some celery and trick yourself. Definitely soda waters like that you've been drinking, because I quit drinking dark sodas and tricked myself with just 0 calorie, like, you know, Spindrifts and fucking Pellegrinos and shit, right? Like, just to like, I had to completely cessate sodas after the kidney stone, which I did. And thank God for fucking kidney stones. They make you almost die, you'll make some fucking changes. Thank God for that fucking thing. Kidney stone of hope, hashtag. So anyway, That amazing doctor, she tells me those things so prophetically. I go back to her in April for a follow-up. It's like February 14th, 90 days from then is when I'm supposed to be released, right? I go for a mid-checkup, and she's like, how's everything going? I'm feeling better, blah, blah, blah. Constipation from opiates. God, I feel so bad for heroin addicts. And yeah, blah, 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 small things. And I'm like exasperated like a fucking child and definitely in bad brain chemistry because I haven't been doing any exercise for 2 months and shit, just completely like fucking sitting still again. It's so bad for you. But, so anyway, like, I'm like, not completely, not like in my depressive fugue, but like definitely like just some like not healthy brain chemistry. Mild for sure. Not even mild, like, but still bad. Any bad brain chemistry ain't good. And I'm like exasperated like a child. I complained to her. I was like, God damn it, I'm supposed to be in fucking Oklahoma right now. And man, shout out to you fucking Dr. Farouk, man. She said, hey, that's the old plan. You gotta stop fucking thinking about that old plan. The new plan is you keep following my orders and keep doing nothing like you are. You've been doing great. You're healing great. And it'll take no time for your retraining. It'll come right back to you. Like, and you will be in New Orleans when you're supposed to be in New Orleans in the new plan. And God, that was so fucking prophetic. And I was New Orleans when I was supposed to. You are so fucking right. And everywhere else that I was supposed to be. And like, there's been breadcrumbs all along the way. So sorry for that long aside, but that woman fucking deserves it. Thanks, Doc. Unfortunately, I'll see you soon. So anyway, back to the end of the fucking surgery story. So like, I'm like, what do I do? Do I fucking go back? What would you do, Doc? Asking Dr. Dubes and the fucking neurosurgeon. And the neurosurgeon's on the phone. Doc is sitting there with me in the room. And I'm like, what would you do? What would you do? You know? And he's like, the neurosurgeon's like, well, the literature shows that if you, in the first 24 hours of the injury, if you get the surgery right then, there's like a really high chance, 90-something percentile, that you're going to get all strength back in your arms. After the first 24 hours, the literature doesn't really agree, but there's no proof, and it's probably true that anytime after the first 24 hours, it's like a 50-50 chance. So like, whether I get the surgery done right now by him here in Washington, or if I go back to DC and get it done in a week or two, it's no different really. Now, I don't want to wait months or whatever. I do have to do it really soon, but the couple of days doesn't matter since it's already been 2 weeks since the injury, right? Or 10 days since the injury or some shit, right? And it would be like, I guess another day until I had the surgery if I did it in Washington. And I'm like, well, I only have one friend up here close. Jay lives like 150 miles away from here. I was like, that's a big ask to like stay at someone's house after recovering from spinal surgery for 3 months. Because I was like, well, how long does it take? He's like, it's about 3 months, blah, blah, blah. And explained like how they go in the front of the neck and then blah, 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 how they do it and whatever. Advised that he would definitely, since I'm young, I should still keep that mobility, especially because I want to cycle still. And I say that to Dr. Dubes, and I was like, yeah, so I'll still be able to bend my neck and still get in like position. And Dubes is like shaking his head like, exactly, you know what I mean? While I'm still on the phone, he's like, just like, yes, that, you know what I mean? And I thank God I have a bike Taurus as a doctor. But anyway, the neurosurgeon's like, yeah, so I mean, if you want to do the surgery now, we definitely can, and it will be better, but not too much, you know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, well, I guess like I have to at least like a day to talk to like sleep on that and speak with a bunch of people before I get fucking spinal surgery. He's like, yeah, of course, obviously, you know what I mean? But like, what I would do is I would go back to Maryland. And I would go back to my doctors there and get the surgery there. And if you have a hard time getting into a spinal doctor because you want to do it within the next week or two, and if you can't get in 2 weeks, he was like, if like they can't schedule you until like 3 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now, don't wait that long. Just go right to the emergency room, and they'll have the neurosurgeon on call come and do it just like I would be coming to do it right now if you say you want me to. And I'm like, okay. And he was like, and you should. And he was like, you're fine to fly with it. You're fine. Like, you need to just like take and like him and Dubes are talking. They'll put me on steroids. They'll keep the steroid track going or whatever for like 5 or 6 days. I take pain meds and muscle relaxers. I can fly back there, get surgery, recover. I'll have to retrain. I'm not sure about the logistics of packing the bike up, whether I'm taking the bike or not. I think I'm at least taking the bike apart and taking the bike. I don't know if I'm taking the bags and stuff. I might leave that at Dr. Dube's shed. But yes, they're like, yeah, that's what I would do. It's obviously a lot of logistics you have to go through, and it's the holidays. Like, and Dubes is like, yeah, if you need anything, you need the truck, you need to ride to the bike shop or to the fucking airport, like that kind of shit. Like, let me know, give me a call. I'm like, man, above and beyond, obviously, like, yeah, that goes without saying. But the craziest emergency room experience that would only happen on the Tour de France, that I make friends with and have the best doctor possible. So anyway, so that's a long story, but yeah, I have to go back and most likely get my disc taken out completely and put in an artificial one, and I'll have titanium in me for the rest of my life, like my little brother does. I'm joining the club. His was also from a bike accident in DC. Got hit and run by a car. Fuck that human that we never found out. And don't fuck that human. They need love. But anyway, so this is like 40 fucking minute video, and like, I don't know. It's just so much going through my head, but I feel like it deserved for me to let you guys know while it was fresh and just my instant reaction to it. But it's okay, because so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go heal up. I'm going to train. I'm going to work. I'm going to save another bunch of money. And I am coming back, and I will finish the Tour de France and the volume 4 of Tour de France. And it will be me flying back to exactly this fucking garage. I will resume this fucking GPS's line, and we will continue up to Canada as I had planned. I will mess around there. And now a small announcement. Since you made it 40 fucking minutes into this video, I will go from there to Alaska. I think I'm gonna ride, because it's gonna be summertime by then. I think I'm gonna ride, but I'm not sure about that. But I 100% sure know that once I mess around in Alaska for a few days and do like this loop that's like 1,000 miles I've heard about from a few bike tours on the way, that goes like just into like a few of the national parks, but still is close to like the coast. Like, so you're not too far into it's not, you can do it in like, maybe it's not 1,000 miles, maybe it's 500, don't quote me on it, but it's not much. You can do it in like a week or 10 days and get back on the road if you want to. Or there's shorter loops that's just a couple hundred miles or whatever, like 4 or 5 days out, right? Like, and I'm gonna do that, and then I'm coming back on this fucking ferry that they call the 8-ball ferry, that goes from Alaska, the tip of Alaska, can't remember the name of the town, but whatever the fuck. You got maps. It's this ferry that goes from there to Anacortes, which is like 40 miles south of me right now on the Puget Sound. This fucking ferry called the 8-ball. You can fucking camp on the fucking bow of this ferry, with like, it's got like place to put like your stakes and shit like that. Bike packers can fucking camp on that shit, and it's a different rate for camping on it than if you take one of the cabins. And if it's in like fucking the summer, it's gonna be like beautiful fucking weather doing that in Alaska. Like, it's like a 3-day trip, I think it is, or two nights, 3 days. So you're just camping on the deck for like 2 days, you know? But like, awesome experience. I can't wait to fucking wake up on the fucking Pacific Ocean up in goddamn the Canadian coast with that as a fucking sunrise on the fucking 8-ball ferry. God, I can't wait for that. And I was debating whether to do that, and I wasn't announcing that. I've been debating that in my head, if I do that when I come back down from Canada, because I was like, well, this is if I do include Alaska, since I'm already going to Hawaii for Steph, stage 39, if I do include Alaska, like the place to do it from is fucking Seattle, and really it's from Bellingham and Anacortes is the place to do it from. So I'm gonna do that, then come back on the ferry down to Anacortes, which is 40 miles south of here again. So I won't come back through this town a third time. And then I will continue down to Jay-Z, who's stage 35, who was the last stage I just did, only 160, 180 miles away or something. And in Gig Harbor, I'll go back to him. It'll be the third time I saw him on the tour. That's awesome. We'll call that stage 35.1 because he also was 34.9 and 35. And then I will continue to Ryan in San Francisco and Tomas and Baby Summers in LA. And then I will go past LA down to Baja and Mexico and Tijuana and Escalante for just like far around in like the Baja Peninsula and just across the border for like 5 or 6 days, just like I'm gonna in Vancouver, Canada. Because why go to both borders like the Pacific Coast Highway does and not go to both countries? Fucking duh. And then back up to LA and then fly over to Steph to Hawaii, fly back from Steph to Tyler to where the end of the Tour de France is supposed to be, volume 4. So I will finish volume 4, which will now include Alaska, which won't start for like 6 months. And I like immediately have great perspective that like, because I am in such great brain chemistry and this trip has been so transformative, and man, I really have loved myself. And it's so crazy. Like, man, if you just love yourself, it is so nuts the people you will affect, like the amount of people that you'll speak to and meet, and like strangers that like you will have a profound effect on. They're like, you'll wake up, you shouldn't talk about this stuff, you should keep this stuff private, but like it's powerful to share. You'll like wake up and like someone will be like, hey man, like you probably don't remember me at all. Like I met you all the way back in Oklahoma and like it really changed my life. Like I've been commuting to work. I've been cycling for like 3 or 4 months now. I've lost like 60 pounds. Like I'm in the best like brain chemistry of my life. It's like everything that you had said. Like it's like it changed my life. And like I just have to tell you and like blah blah and like man, dude, like I took a fucking picture of that and I'll keep that private, obviously, the verbatim. But yeah, dude, I can't tell you what that feels like to wake up to when you're drinking coffee and open up an Instagram account after my morning reading routine was done and fucking be like, oh man, dude, you fucking ride a bike with a shit-eating grin that day. I tell you what, dude, it's fucking a great day of a bike tour. Like it's crazy what you like. It is crazy the profound butterfly effect that the simple act of loving yourself can do. It's so nuts what 9 millimeters of kidney stone has changed, not just in my life or in the 40 friends and their families and kids. Like my biggest fan, shout out to Benny. My biggest fan is my buddy Matt Sokoloff's. Man, I could be a Hollywood actor now because like I can cry on command thinking about this now. So like when man, so when my bike got stolen in Oklahoma City, so Matt was the last stage in Baltimore, 83 miles from my house, and I didn't do back to my house in DC from him. I did down to the beach in Maryland. I did 173 miles in one day. That was my biggest ride. What an awesome one. But I stayed at Matt's for like 3 or 4 days, and like his 3 boys are getting into like bike riding and stuff because Matt's getting into bike riding while I'm still training for the tour, and way before I got to his stage. And he's getting a lot of my friends are Ray, Steven, like just it's like so many people, Paul and his kids, fucking Steven Kaiser, just the list goes on and on of like the people. I'm sorry if I'm leaving any of you guys out. Pat and Kristen just bought themselves Christmas presents of new bikes and sent me pics of it, dude. Like, so not only is it like having an effect on my friends' lives, and like making them healthier is what they're seeing from me, right? Like, but it's having an effect on their kids, right? And so like I had gone on a bike ride. Benny's the oldest of Cole and Tristan, and Cole and Tristan were awesome too, and my great fans too, boys. I love you. But Benny and I definitely did some more bike riding. He's a little older, right? So he and I went riding, and we ate some my freeze-dried strawberries. And man, Matt told me this story the other day. I guess the other day, a couple months ago. But he's like, "Hey man, went on a ride with Benny, and he said, Uncle Jesse says," and by the way, he called you uncle. He was like, "But Uncle Jesse says we should always take a snack with us on our bike rides if we're going to ride a long time. We need some water and some snacks." Man, what a text that was to read. But so anyway, so like when the theft had happened, Matt had heard about it, like many of my best friends, and were pivotal in helping me through that. And Benny got on the phone and was like, we're rooting for you, Uncle Jesse. Man, it was the cutest fucking thing. And it like, I'm crying tears of joy about it now, Benny. But, man, when you said that, I was going through tears of pain back then. Which, both those types of tears are okay. And emotion is good to share and to have and to feel. And you should, and it's okay to speak about it. But it was a really rough day when you said that to me. And man, I can't even talk about it without crying every time. It means so much to me. But anyway. But so loving yourself, which happened because of that kidney stone of hope. Thank God I fucking had that thing. Best thing that ever happened to me. But loving yourself can even have a generational effect on your friends' kids, right? Like not just your friends, like generations out, right? And like that's just the people I know. And because of my depressive fugue, I didn't really know Benny and Tristan and Cole. I knew Benny. I really didn't know Tristan and Cole because I was so absent, because I wasn't loving myself for way too long and didn't know. Thank God for that kidney stone. Man, take your mental health seriously, and that starts with your physical health and your diet and the food that you put in you and your sleep cycles. And all those things will balance themselves if you just exercise an hour a day. Raise your heart rate. I swear, it's the best thing you can do. Anyway, I'm not going to preach in a pulpit. You know you should do those things. But, so anyway, yeah. Like now I have like such different perspective now, right? Like, so like, I already have plans of what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. I know it's going to be great. I know it's going to be even better. I'm seeing positives immediately on the first day. Like, and like my friends are even like, man, it's crazy how you're already like at the acceptance stage of this. Like you're immediately just, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I just think so much clearer now. And like, I'm in just such better brain chemistry. Like you just immediately, like you can just deal with even brain surgery, like easily. This is not brain surgery, spinal surgery. Not to embellish it, but anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna see so many more sunsets on the ocean. I've seen 1,000 sunrises growing up at the beach in Maryland. I've seen one sunset on the Pacific Ocean. Like that's one of the reasons I'm doing the whole PCH, and also because having to stop in Seattle, San Fran, and LA for my Tour de France stages pretty much forces the PCH. But anyway, so yeah, it's just going to be better. It's going to be better weather. It's going to be more pleasant. There will be bears more, so they're sleeping now. So that's one thing about cycling in the winter. That's much safer bear-wise. But anyway, yeah, it'll just be better. I'll see better sunsets. It'll be better weather. There'll be less clouds, more sunsets. Like, I'll get to like take my sweet-ass time with it because I'll save another chunk of money, and I'll be carrying a lot less weight because it'll be summertime stuff, and like it'll just be like, it'll be really good in a lot of reasons. And I know exactly whenever I do that, whenever volume 4 starts, I cannot wait for it. Stay posted. I'm still gonna do dope shit in between, and I'm gonna start writing the book and do a bunch of shit that I wasn't gonna do till after the tour, but now I'm gonna do a bunch of cool shit, and I got lots of media to go through. Literally like 20 terabytes of data. Anyway, yeah, so much is gonna be awesome. Stay in the future. I'm gonna go get a surgery, and it'll be the second time I got vertebrae shit done while on the Tour de France. Holy smokes, let's hope this is the last time. And yeah, it's gonna be motherfucking glorious, and it's gonna be everything in its right place, as everything fucking always is. And there'll be so much more love to come, and like it'll be amazing. And like, those who know me well. I am very completionist. I'm either not going to do it or I'm going to do it all the way. If I do it all the way, it's going to be done, or I'm going to be good, and I'm going to be good at it. I say that with as much humility as I wish I had put into it to begin with. But anyway, it's going to be fucking glorious. And like, I don't know, love yourself. I'll say that again. Love always wins. Hashtag thanks gods for them things. Man, so many sayings that are like, I don't know why you guys listen this long or care about following it, but I guess it's because of the love. Tour de friends, thanks friends.